Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Two Angles on Angling. This is Jordan with my co-host.
It's Ryan, guys. What's up?
All right, we are coming at you on Sunday around 3 p.m. Beautiful day. The trees are starting to bloom, bud, whatever the
Yep.
terminology is.
Straight flowers.
Yeah. So very beautiful. A lot of pinks and yellows and some greens mixed in as well. So it's a very nice change of pace from the dullness that has been around for the last several months. Uh, and we are also coming at you from a day on the water,
Yeah.
and that was amazing. But we are going to start with Ryan's full week, and then we will end on that.
And today.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I did not fish Monday, but then I fished every day Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then today. had the people that I had scheduled for today wanted to fish salmon, and there was no way we could get out into Lake Ontario today. The northwest winds were way too big. So that was Providence. Jordan and I ended up doing that. But basically, last week I said that I felt real confident that this week I was going to catch my first king and my first smallmouth. And that definitely happened. Like and I mean, not only did it happen, like it happened, like just like boom, like it was wild. Um, so Tuesday, I fished the lower Niagara, very slow in the river. And I'm like, guys, it's going to be kind of big out there, but if we go out, like, we're going to catch fish. Like, we got good water clarity. And I'm like, if you guys don't have issues with seasickness, let's do it. So we went out there and we waylaid. I mean, it was crazy. Like, tons of Lakers. And then finally, boom, got my first king. I was like, nice. And it wasn't a
awesome.
giant, but it was a good
Yeah.
sized fish. A mature fish, but just not a tanker. And I'm like, oh yes, I was stoked. Gave that dude a hug. I'm like, finally, the first one of the year. And yeah, so we went in, and then Wednesday I had a single guy. This guy also named Ryan, and I fished with him last spring, or no, last summer, with him and one of his buddies, and his buddies just moved out of town, so he's like, screw it, dude. I just want to take off work and hang out, man. I don't need anybody else to go. If you're cool with it just being you and I, let's do it. I was like, absolutely, man. Let's go. So we had perfect conditions, like
Awesome.
partly cloudy skies, next to no wind. The only one challenging thing was water clarity, because one thing I forgot to mention, and it's a problem that persists to this day, is on Monday, late Monday, we got hammered with like a crazy thunderstorm system. Like, just my neighborhood alone got 2.5 inches of rain. And like that was just this wild cell, like you could see it on the radar. It just came across and just soaked and thunderstormed and just smashed stuff. And it flooded all the tributaries out. Like
Yeah.
it made things super muddy up here. And it took about a day for it to get to the lower Niagara and to start to bellow out into Lake Ontario. And so that we saw the effects of that um, when I went out Wednesday. So we launched first thing in the morning, like 6:30, shot straight out to Lake Ontario, perfectly calm. I'm like, look, I'm gonna go to a spot, since I caught a king yesterday. I'm gonna go to a different spot, because I was just fishing Lakers. Like, I
Hmm.
wasn't. I was hoping we would get Lakers, but I'm like, let's just go to a different spot and see if they're set up there. They usually are in the spring. I pull up. My sonar was just lit, bait, fish feeding. I'm like, whoa, like this is incredible. We had perfect water clarity. We started pulling. I mean, dude, we absolutely annihilated salmon. I mean, it was crazy, and it was
Awesome.
just us two. Like
Awesome.
we were doubling, and then I'd have to, like, I'd fight a fish for a while, and then be like, all right, dude, double fist these rods. Nut one, drop the rod, fight the other fish. Like, it was sick. All
Wow.
four rods staggered all over the water column. All got hammered. Like, we
That's
just hit
awesome.
it perfectly, and there was nobody around us. And that lasted for a solid like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, and then the mud showed up.
Mm.
And when it did, I couldn't get back on them again. It was difficult. So I went and checked out a different area. Caught some Lakers there. It was an area that the mud hadn't gotten to yet. No kings. And then he wanted to shoot up the river and try a couple other things. We fished up the river, and I don't even think we caught much. I think we caught one lake trout upriver, but that was in like a couple hours of fishing. So it was, it was an amazing morning.
Yeah.
Really amazing, like half of the trip. It was the back half once the mud showed up that screwed everything up, but that front half to have that by
Hmm.
itself was still
Yeah.
incredible.
Sounds like
Um, so yeah, the mud made it out there. So Thursday I did the same thing, went to the same area. It was muddy, but not like ridiculously muddy, but it was muddy. And the bite rate was not the same. We caught fish, like we got I think we got 6 kings that day, and we dropped a
nice.
couple, and then we got a whole like probably a half dozen or so more lake trout as well. But it was much slower than it was the day
Hmm.
before. I blame the water clarity. I could have. That's just one of the things about being out there that you can think about is, and it's something that you have to consider is. So it was sunny,
Hmm.
a little bit wavy, but nothing crazy. But sunny. So if you have stained water and there's sun, the fish can see a little bit better, right? So if you use bright colors or highly reflective colors and bigger profile baits, that gives you a fighting chance in stained stuff because they will see it. Like we caught fish. It's just like finding that. So you have to balance clarity versus what you see on your sonar,
Mm.
and if you have a lot of fish and water underneath you stained, you can fish through them and you will catch a fish eventually. You just have to like just keep fucking grinding them back and forth, and just stay on them, and you will eventually catch them because you're hovering through them. But if you do that, you have to go like real light, like you can't run a lot of gear. But it's tough to do. You need like all the right conditions to be able to pull
Hmm.
that off, and still your catch rates are going to be marginal. So you could go looking for clearer water, but what if you end up in that clearer water and you don't see as many fish there? If
Yeah.
the numbers are a smaller amount, do you stay there and fish that? Like my general point is the fish are where they are. And if they're in that super stain stuff, like I highly encourage at least spending some time
Hmm.
seeing what you can make happen in it,
Yeah.
which is a lesson that
Yeah.
we also figured out today. Um, yeah. So anyway, it was pretty good. And then uh, Friday, I went back out to Lake Ontario again, and I don't know. The forecast way undersold what happened out there. Like the northeast winds were so big. When we got out there, it was okay. We didn't catch anything for the first hour. The same place that I was. We had a couple fish on and came off, and then it started getting bigger and bigger. And I'm like, look, let's just move over to like really clean water right now and see if we can catch some Lakers because they had never caught lake trout before. So that's what we did. We ended up catching a couple, and it got huge out there. And I'm like, look, if we stay out here, like we were pretty far away from the Niagara. So if we stay out there, it's like we're gonna have to go through these waves, like to get back, and like the going in is gonna be brutal. So I'm like, let's go upriver and see if we can make something happen. Now, one of the key details I've left out of this story is that my buddy Mike assured me that he was gonna go bass fishing, um, because I'll get to Saturday, but he assured me that he was gonna go bass fishing. He was gonna let me know how he did. And by like 10 o'clock in the morning, he sent me a picture of a 5.5 pounder, and I'm like, okay, yes. So this is in the back of my head. So I go up the river and we fish Devil's Hole. We catch a single steelhead up there and like 5 drifts. And it was raining and the wind kind of sucked. And I'm like, look, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Mother Nature screwed us out in Lake Ontario today. And this here where we're fishing right now, it sucks. Like just getting a fish every 5 drifts. I'm like, so we can quit and I'll take care of you on the rate, or we could take the boat out and go bass fishing. And they're like, let's go bass fishing. And we did. And we hammered. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it. It was amazing for them. So I was excited that I was happy that they were happy.
Turn the day around.
Yep. And then yesterday we fished in one of my clients, this group of guys, this group of 3 guys that I've been fishing with for a long time. This year they decided they wanted to do like a friends tournament where they had 9 of their friends, like both 9 people total, and so 3 boats, and it was just going to be a points, like however many point, 1 point per fish, and then they had like a bunch of other rules, whatever. And the main thing is it like Major League Fishing, it awarded numbers versus weight, which I'm like, all right, knowing that that's the thing. I set out. I fished the entirety of Grand Island and caught an insane number of fish. I'm not even going to say out loud what the number was, but I fished the entire circumference of Grand Island. And so, like those people who are listening to this podcast that are inclined to go fishing now that you've heard this, you know, I don't feel awesome about it, but you're going to find out anyways. Somebody's going to post to social media. So the one thing I want to say is I hope traffic is low this year. I'm optimistic that we can be civil. And I would tell you that, like I just said, I fished the entire circumference of Grand Island, like a bunch of places. Like I think I added up, it was like 17 different zones that I fished, and we caught an insane number of fish. Never stayed, never spot locked, just drifted through these areas and absolutely pounded. And so if you are going to put your boat in soon and go fishing soon, like by soon, I mean like within the next 10 days, I would encourage you to just cover as much water as you can, because you're going to be surprised. And where you find those fish, they will be there every year at that point in their spawn, right? So like right now, they're like the smallmouth bass throughout Lake Erie and the river systems are staging, and they're getting super concentrated in areas. And when they're concentrated like that, that's why people have the tendency to spot lock. They'll find, like, because basically where they're concentrated is anywhere where there's like the least amount of current, or there's a current break, where they can hang out and not have to burn calories. So, and they're communal. They have been all winter, so they're cool with it. They want to hang there, but just because that's the tightest population doesn't mean that they aren't
elsewhere.
There's not some upstream of that spot and downstream of that spot. Like, so use those spots as a reference point, but there's never a reason
expand beyond it.
Because look, I'm telling you right now, I expect to start seeing people fishing places that I've never seen people fishing in them before. And what it comes down to is spot locking when you have many anglers around in current is just not cool. If you want to spot lock out in Lake Erie where there's no current, okay. If everybody's drifting around you, I still think that's a douchebag move. But but in the river in particular, it's just not cool, man. It's just not.
Messes everything up.
You just don't need to. Like I'm just telling you, you don't need to. And look, and I'll say it again because I just feel like I have to say it every year. You have to like when you find that one sweet area where they're super stacked in it, get your few, but like, what are you proving when you keep pounding it and pounding it and pounding it? It's like, dude, you figured it out. You solved the problem. Like you solved the puzzle there. Like get your couple dopamine hits, but like how many shots do you need? Like for what? It doesn't like so I'll like here's a prime example. So this tournament that we did on Saturday, um, we had like a ridiculously high number of fish, like a number that most people wouldn't even think could be done. I'm not even going to say what it is, but like people have done it before, but not that many people have done it. But it is a very high number. Again, I didn't soak anywhere, and I so I'm I it, to me that was my strategy, was cover ground and find them everywhere that they were, and just keep catching and catching and catching. I had three guys that could just keep lines soaked the entire time. Right. So I'm just like, look, I'm going to find fish where I've never found fish, and we're going to catch the hell out of them. And we did. But when in my journey through, because there were two other boats in this tournament, and two of my buddy charter captains, Pete Reddy, Mike Trifoletti, they had to come up with their own plan. They did what they did, but I didn't know what they were going to do. We didn't discuss what we were going to do. Like we had our own plans. So I went. I just started on West River and went all the way down. And when I came around the north end of the island and saw that Mike was nowhere to be seen, I'm like, dude, this is going to be amazing. You don't understand. Because there's another freaking 17, 18 miles of water there. And he like, if I couldn't see him like all the way to Buckhorn, based on how, because we had been fishing for like 3.5 hours. So if he hadn't made it that far down the river yet, then he probably wasn't fishing this part of the river. And that's the other, like East River is huge. It's even longer than West River. There's way more structure, and like there's just far more nuance to East River. I mean, yeah, like you have some dead water, kind of just upstream and of the South Bridge down to maybe once you start getting closer to the boat launches, a lot of there's fish to be found in there, I'm sure, but a lot of it I think is just kind of a channel and relatively featureless. But the rest of it is amazing. Upstream of that and downstream of that is all amazing. And it all works. It's all worth exploring because it's just supremely satisfying catching fish in a place that nobody else is, and at least for the moment, you think that you're the only one that knows about it. But the key point there
Yeah.
is cover water, and two, drop a waypoint and remember, or just remember that spot for next year. Very important. Take note of the water temperature. Like it, don't don't pay attention to the surface temperature. Like look at the gauges because the surface temperature is very warm right now because the sun's up.
Hmm.
The bottom of the lake is probably 42, 43 degrees, which is the water that's the bottom. Like once you go 4 feet underneath the surface of the river, if that, it's much colder down there. Don't pay attention to the surface temperature. Pay attention to the water temperature coming out of Lake Erie, which I think is 42 or 43. So if you find them in that spot at 42, 43 degrees, I guarantee you next year when the water is that temperature, they're going to be there. It's like clockwork. And what happened last week with the ice leaving, that's another mental note that people make. Like when there's no ice left, it's just count down, man. It's about to happen
Hmm.
because that big cooling factor is gone,
Yeah, yeah.
and you know everything just starts firing up. So we're at the beginning of it, and I there were a lot of boats out today. I was
Mhm.
surprised considering the weather, but why don't you walk the fans through what our day
Yeah.
was like today?
So, uh, I do have one other nature observation to throw in from the week, and it was epic.
No way.
Yes. So I was driving home, and I'm on the 190, and I see this bird. I'm like, all right, like this is a pretty big bird. I can tell
Oh,
already,
Jesus.
and I'm like, but I'm gonna really hone in because this one seems special. And no joke, dude, I get right under it, white head, white tail, and I'm like,
Dude, I was gonna text you when I was at Lewiston on Tuesday and took the boat out of the water in the parking lot, settling up with my clients. There were two bald eagles, like mate, because I was talking to them, and then I heard the their calls, like
yeah,
their whatever their mating calls or their chatter that they do back and forth. And I looked up, and yeah, it was a male and female just kind of like clasping at each other and stuff.
that's
It was
awesome.
cool. You'd have
Yeah,
liked it.
that would have been dope to see someday. So yeah, that was epic. Now on another level of epicness. So Erie was pretty big when we got out there this morning, and being out there in waves that big alone is is an experience in itself. So getting out there was awesome. We started drifting. Weren't really loving the area. The watercolor just
Yeah,
not
everything was
not
super
great.
stained
Yeah,
out there. Super
staying
stained.
just yeah. So
Like a foot of visibility kind of
yeah.
stained.
So we kept drifting, nothing. So we switched, moved to a different spot, and surprisingly, in the darker water, so the more stained water, is when Ryan stumbled into the first fish of the day, which, much like a blimp, it rose from the bottom of the
Like a
water
blimp.
to the surface and popped straight out. And it felt like seconds, it was in the net. And I was just like, holy shit. And we got it in and weighed it. And Ryan, what was it
So
at?
6 3/4.
Yeah, it was a mega. Um,
Yeah, it was weird because
like
that we were riding up a ledge, and there's usually fish in this spot every year, but yeah, man, it was muddy in there,
yeah,
and I was just using like a bitsy tube, like a Gobi bitsy tube,
yeah,
and just kind of bumping it off those rocks, riding the waves in, and confidence level was very low.
yeah,
But that thing throttled the bait. Like it ate it like it would eat a goby. Like it
yeah,
absolutely freaking throttled it.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh shit.
yeah.
Yeah. And when we netted it and first brought it into the boat, I'm like, oh, that's definitely a 5. And then I'm holding it. I'm like, whoa, dude, like, this is actually a
I was
fucking
losing
tanker.
it, as anyone can
I'm
probably
like, oh, this is
imagine. I
actually
was
a
like, I was
this is
losing it.
actually like a pretty solid fish. Let me weigh it. And yeah, she was. She
I
was
when
she was
I
definitely
saw that
big.
you waited, I knew automatically. I was like, oh wow, this is like big.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because I
so
mean,
yeah,
I should have taped her, but I mean, that fish is probably 22 and a half, maybe 23
yeah,
inches long.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, 6 3/4. I don't, she was probably 22 and a half. Because like a 7 inch or 7 pounder is usually about 23 inches. I mean, that's a Goliath.
yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So that got the morale boosted heavily, and at that point, I didn't even care what happened the rest of the day. But we did persevere. We continued on. We hopped from spot to spot and found fish in a few different places. It was nothing too crazy at first, but I caught probably a 5 and then
Yeah.
another 4. So pretty awesome. Kept bopping along, and what was another cool thing as well is that Ryan bought some heads last night, and I did a tie on this one, and I was like, all right, I'm pretty satisfied with this one. So we had no intentions of fishing those today, but the game plan changed. So I ended up putting one on, put a swim bait on the back of it, and my first smallmouth of the year was caught on that. All of my smallmouth today ended up being caught on that, which was pretty awesome. Uh, And then yeah, we moved on. You caught a sheepy actually at
Yeah.
one point too, which was pretty hilarious. I knew it was a sheephead sooner than Ryan knew it was a sheephead, and he got it to unhook it. And he was like, "What? I thought this was going to be a bass." And but released that, and then we just kept plucking along. And I don't know how many did we end up getting into in that flurry after that. I don't know, probably
Yeah.
six or so. For a short day on the water, it was a. I'm very happy with how it turned out there. It
Yeah. I mean, the biggest observation from the Erie side of things, or in general. So, like yesterday, Saturday. Well, it rained yesterday, and then big norths. So yesterday was mostly northeast. Today is mostly northwest. But it rained yesterday too, like on and off. Not a lot, but I, some areas apparently got hit with some heavy vents too, like we did on Monday, because the Buffalo River was just like straight dumping mud, and so the harbor was muddy, the lake was all churned up, all the shoreline was muddy. Like so something. I don't know if the Cattaraugus or 18 Mile, a bunch of those creeks are dumping mud. I think Lake Erie probably got pretty big yesterday too in those waves, so or in those winds that stirred things up. So we're going to be dealing with stained water
Mhm.
for a while. Like like tomorrow for sure. So like because this upcoming week's forecast is really nice most of the days. I mean, there's some big, like Tuesdays, some big wind, but then the rest of the week is definitely manageable on most days. Um, so the water's not going to have any chance to. It's not going to have any time to
Yeah.
clear. Like if Tuesday generates big waves on Erie, then it's going to keep the water stained up. So we'll have like a little bit of reprieve and some things will settle tomorrow, but then Tuesday it'll get stirred up again. Wednesday it'll be nasty, clarity wise. Thursday it'll be nasty, clarity wise. Um, so plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Especially out on Lake Ontario, that's going to be the interesting thing. Like finding clear water
Yeah.
is going to be the interesting thing. And I don't know what the best call is for that. I mean, you could go east. I think the further east you go, the higher the likelihood of finding clearer water
Hmm.
right now. But who knows? Like the other thing too is after all these north winds, a lot of times that just pushes cold water to our side of the lake and clean water to our side of the lake, and just forces all that mud against the bank. So we don't know,
Yeah.
but it'll be interesting to see. Things are just kicking in, just like we thought they would last week. Like caught a giant, yeah, like that day that I was out with that other guy Ryan. Like I caught one of the biggest kings I've ever boated. I ended up landing that fish. I mean, that thing was a giant.
Sure
And
was.
so to start the year off like
Yeah.
this week with a tanker king and a tanker jaw in the first week, I'm not. So that makes me nervous. Honestly, it's like now. How do I maintain that? Like,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not a confidence boost. Like it's more of like, oh man, it shouldn't happen this early.
Fair enough. I wasn't
But
looking at it that way. Yeah.
but we'll see. I mean, like this is just the thing with every year is like when it starts, like it's starting, like it's just exploding right now. Like it's like a flower blooming
Hmm.
really quickly, like through time lapse. Um, and that makes me nervous, right? Because if
Yeah.
if 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 that happens, then it's going to be awesome for people that are
Hmm.
fishing with me for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be incredible for them. But then after that, it'll slow right down,
Yeah.
and then it starts to get weird, And then you got to wonder, okay, well, you know, when can we legitimately start catching walleyes all the time? So
Yeah.
it'll be
Good
like
point.
the
Yeah.
next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be crazy.
Yeah. For sure.
Hopefully, it like today's wasn't hot. The next
No.
couple days are going to be fairly warm,
Yeah.
but then it's supposed to get back down into like lows in the 40s again for a while. So that should slow the general warming, a little bit. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm out every day next week, so looking forward to catching back up and talking about it.
Yeah, we'll fill you guys in next week. Until then, tight lines and catch you later.
See you.